stories of past and what could be. Disappointments made scribbles on blank sheets. Moments begging make sense of me. Maybe papers, just fragile honesty that carries the latest wave of a tired mind, staring you in the face, but being too close to find, was it the safest place to break me any harder? Take the worst there was to offer. There was to offer. There was to offer. Worst there was to offer. To offer. Worst there was to offer. It's feeling the page of the hardest questions and working your way through mistaken impressions. It's filling the page of the hardest questions. So maybe it's brave or least paper intentions. Do we dance around what it would take? What remains? Loose paper collections of thoughts are tiny treasures, revealer of hearts.
I'd fancy dance my way to your heart. Deep down I know we're not the same. A 50-50 chance from the start.
How about now? Is that good? Can you hear me? A little higher? How about now? There it is. That's great. Perfect. That was all a ruse just to make sure everyone would know we were about to start. That's kind of the new thing that we do instead of like hollering. So. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Elizabeth Demariaffi. I'm the executive director at Riddle Fence. If you are unfamiliar with Riddle Fence, we are a beautiful arts and culture magazine made right here in St. John's. And this is our third year partnering in a really big way with Lanya Vanya. I'm super excited to get to host this amazing event. We host so many events here at Bannerman, and they are always so good to us. It's kind of my favorite place. But before we begin, I, of course, want to respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather. The ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has been lost forever and can never be recovered. We also acknowledge the island of Uchtahomguk, Newfoundland, as the unceded traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq, and we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu of Nitassinan, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut, and the Inuit of Nunatukavut. We recognize all First Peoples who were here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for us all. We have an amazing program lined up for you tonight. As I said, this is my third year at Riddle Fence. It is our third big year partnering with Lanya Vanya. And every June we bring a really exciting writer from mainland Canada here. Last year we had Wabgisha Grice. This year we have an absolute superstar of Canadian literature, Madeline Thien. Before we jump in, I just want to make sure that I shout out Lanya Vanya's sponsors, St. John's International Women's Film Festival, Print 3, and Alt Hotels. For our part as a partner, everything Riddle Fence is doing this week, including this show and our pop-up bookstore, which is half a block away at 100 Duckworth Street, is funded by the Canada Council for the Arts Public Outreach Program. If you have not been to our little bookstore yet, you should totally go. We have a brand new outreach coordinator, Jenna James. She's at the back tonight. She has something planned every Saturday at that store all summer long. It's going to be amazing. During Lanya Vanya, we are open every day this week. You can buy things such as this gorgeous St. John's Paradox bag, which shows someone loving St. John's coming down a hill and hating St. John's going back up a hill. And if you need something to put in your bag, we have lots of copies of the Book of Records tonight. We also have copies of our magazine. But yeah, the bookstore is super fun, open every day this week and every Saturday from here till the end of August now. You can also come visit us right now, as I said, at the back table. And of course, there's so much going on at the festival, shows, workshops, panels, all ages events. Please do check it out at lanyavanya.com. But tonight, our program goes like this. We'll start with Madeline reading from her new novel, The Book of Records, take a musical interlude with Montreal's Marlaena Moore, and then Madeline will be back on stage for a moderated discussion with Riddle Fence's own creative nonfiction editor and novelist herself, Sharon Bala. So that's what's coming up. So I'm just going to jump in and let's get started. It is my huge privilege to get to introduce to you Madeline Thien. Madeline is the author of a story collection and 4 novels, including Dogs at the Perimeter, Do Not Say We Have Nothing, and The Book of Records. Do Not Say We Have Nothing was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, the Women's Prize for Fiction, and the Folio Prize, and won the Governor General's Literary Award for Fiction, among other honors. Her books have been translated into 25 languages. Her stories and essays have appeared in The New Yorker, Granta, Times Literary Supplement, The New York Review of Books, and elsewhere. Born in Vancouver, Madeline lives in Montreal and teaches part-time at Brooklyn College at the City University of New York. Please welcome Madeline Thien.
Yes.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that beautiful introduction. And I'm just so happy to be here and honored to be part of the programming with Rudolph Fence and with Lanya Vanya. The last book I published was 9 years ago, and it was very much about music. And being part of music festivals was the utter joy of being out in the world with that book. So I believe I'm reading for about 20 minutes, and I'm just going to jump in and then add information as we go. Half a century ago, during the rainy season, when I was 7 years old, my father and I reached the sea. It was evening and the buildings were colored glass against the night. I remember that we disembarked into water, we crossed the sand, we entered a pale door of the sea. Inside, the hallways were noisy and hot. There were people everywhere, and I wanted to escape to the open air. But my father found a room in which we and others could shelter. For a day, perhaps even 2, I slept. When I awoke, I saw my father standing at the window, mesmerized by something I couldn't see or hear. His yellow sweater glowed in the blue light. Within days, the people we had met on our voyage began to depart. They crowded onto small boats which carried them out to cargo ships, which little by little slid behind the horizon. But we remained. My father had been ill and needed time to recover. Next week, he said, or the week after, we would set off again and rejoin those who had gone ahead. Near the beach, by an entrance known as West Gate, the rooms were full. But further away we discovered abandoned buildings. Every night we moved deeper into the enclave. According to rumors, this place had started as a military outpost. The empire to which it belonged had crumbled, and the outpost, over centuries, had fallen outside the control of nearby countries, becoming a no-man's land. People who needed to disappear, or who had no other nation, began to take refuge here. They constructed dwellings atop dwellings until hundreds of buildings appeared to wrap around and even through one another. These people named their home the sea. But that was long ago, and the former inhabitants, as many as 60,000, had scattered to places unknown. Whole buildings now stood deserted, their roofs collapsed by storms. Some had a feeling of permanent night. Some became lively neighborhoods, brought momentarily to life by families who arrived and departed together. Several times my father and I walked for hours, never turning or doubling back, but somehow found ourselves standing back at West Gate. It was impossible. We learned that the simplest way to navigate the enclave was over the rooftops, which made a kind of patchwork road across the sea. One afternoon, we explored a staircase that seemed to branch into itself. I had the sensation that if I turned around, I would be behind or even above us, as if I were falling at different speeds. Full of wonder, I asked my father, "Where are we now?" He looked out a round window. The northern perimeter, I think, but I'm not sure. Why does it look like this? The staircase, despite being solid, felt like air or emptiness. My father examined the green-tiled walls. It's another time. Like another time zone? Something like that. The body of water outside, Lena, what is it? The South China Sea. My father nodded. That's what I think too, but others might tell you something different. That night I met a couple who were selling lengths of cotton cloth. When I asked about the view from their window, the man said, "The Baltic Sea. I would know that blue anywhere." The woman eyed me warily and wouldn't answer. Undeterred, I struck up conversations with everyone I met, always steering us towards this question. Most gave me a pitying smile, as if this were the kind of thing only a young girl, severed from reality, could ask. But others hesitated, as if I were daring them to tell an outright lie or to cup a river in their hands. One woman thumped her cane on the floor and huffed, "It's the Atrai River, where the water reaches the Depa Valley. Don't they teach you kids geography?" Another, bored, said, "The Atlantic, what else?" No one I met intended to stay longer than necessary. The sea was just one stop on the way to a better place. Around us, the water was rarely at peace. Waves became mountains, became valleys. It was the back of a giant creature whose scales rippled the sky. A blue shadow floated on the horizon, and I believed it must be the country we'd left behind. Already my memories of the city of Foshan were fading. When I tried to picture the faces of my mother, aunt, and older brother, it felt as if someone were pressing my eyes closed. I spent hours contemplating the horizon, looking for an answer. Finally, I asked my father, "Where does this water belong? If it isn't the South China Sea, what is it?" "I already told you. The buildings of the sea are made of time." I was 7 years old. I knew that he was pulling my leg, and also that he was being truthful. He tried to explain. He told me that everything would be obvious if I took a piece of string and folded it over and through itself to form a double coin knot. I studied his haggard face, his black-rimmed glasses stained by dust, his ruffling hair, which in a matter of months had gone completely gray. "The string is time, and the knot is space," he concluded. "But they're the same, see?" A knock rattled our door. A man appeared dressed head to foot in beige. He was accompanied by 4 small children who clung like wings to every part of him. The man said he needed help repairing the cistern on an adjoining roof. He disappeared down the stairs, his voice echoing up. "It's a catastrophe for people like you and me, an ending. But children adapt more easily. These days, not knowing is their fortune." So we move ahead. They think they're going to leave the sea, but they can't. And her father finds a room that has some furniture and where they can make a temporary refuge. On the 12th floor of the sea, our family photo stood on our shelf next to the only 3 books we'd packed. The books had been part of a collection of 90 books, The Great Lives of Voyagers, which had obsessed my brother Wei. The 2 of us had spent hours reenacting its adventures. Wei cast me in challenging roles: warlord, counselor, tiger, and we would wrestle one another to the ground, shout curses, eat banquets, and engage in death-defying tests of courage. My brother read me to sleep each night, even describing the pictures if my eyes started to close. Beneath his voice, I'd drift in and out of dreams. Each book in the series opened with the same epigraph: "Being forbidden to show gratitude for your services, I leave you my one remaining possession and my best, the pattern of my life." When we left Foshan, Dad had packed volumes 3, 70, and 84. I wished he'd taken number 1 about the Ming Dynasty sailor Zheng He, or 23 on the tireless wanderer Ibn Battuta. The illustrations in those volumes still blaze in my memory, and given his own scientific passions, why hadn't he chosen number 6, Albert Einstein, or 11, about the invention of algebra? My father protested that, in the chaos of flight, he hadn't even looked at the titles. He'd passed over the most battered volumes, grabbing ones that looked untouched or barely read. Otherwise, the choice was pure accident. In the weeks after we left Foshan, my father read these books to me in order. Number 3 was about Du Fu, the poet. Number 70 was Baruch Spinoza, a philosopher. Number 84 was Hannah Arendt, a writer. Dad said these people had each, at different times, been figures of fascination in the People's Republic of China. The Great Lives of Voyagers had foot-long maps you could unfold. The characters kept you on the edge of your seat by describing narrow escapes, crushing heartaches, assassination attempts, and horrible betrayals. Sometimes my father would interrupt his reading and say, "That can't be right." Or he'd burst out laughing, slap his knee, and say, "Who makes this stuff up?" When I complained that number 70 barely left his hometown, my father said that voyages were not just about sea crossings and interstellar explorations, but journeys of the mind. On the back cover, the series promised that if you read every volume, you would become an educated person. I longed for the other books with a kind of furious, greedy hunger. But what my father had said was true. Departing Foshan had been chaotic. We had fled first by car and then by boat, arriving in one besieged place after another. I saw things that time has not erased. The old man who lost everyone except a white bird who knew hundreds of words and who reminisced with him about his family. I never knew the man's name, but I remember the bird was called Bohu. One morning, the man woke to find that someone had opened the cage, tried to steal the creature, and left it nearly dead. The old man raged and wept, as if calling out for his only child among the ruins. Or the boy Reza, who played the santur, a type of zither, which was like a gujang but with a completely different spirit. He could strike the strings with such speed and beauty. The music created worlds more real than the ground itself. He disappeared and was presumed drowned. People took the musical instrument apart. They fought over the wood and strings and all the decorative pieces in the shape of roses. A few weeks later, the boy returned with a completely different name, and he didn't seem to remember that he'd ever been a musician. But one day he saw one of the santur's roses on a necklace worn by a young girl. He snatched it from her neck so violently she cried out in pain. When the girl fought to get the necklace back, he fell to his knees and began to weep, but he wouldn't relinquish it, no matter what anyone said or did. The truth was almost everyone was more forsaken than us. To stop my questions, is Mom coming to meet us? Where is Wei? Is someone after us? Dad read to me. He pretended that, along with the great lives of voyagers, we were participants in the most consequential adventures of our times. These blue-covered books were a net that would suspend us outside the present. Later on, when I was capable of reading them for myself, I discovered that my father had added episodes that were not in the books. He had made things up and thereby slowed time down, ensuring that no matter how long our journey lasted, we'd never run out of history, no matter how true or inaccurate it was. So they stay in the sea for 7 years. These 3 books become universes that are breathed into life. They have some wonderful neighbors, and everyone is invested in giving Lena that thing that she most desires, an education. So we enter the lives of Baruch Spinoza, Du Fu, and Hannah Arendt, and I'm just going to read a part of the Hannah Arendt section. So as some of you may know, Hannah Arendt was a political philosopher, a thinker. She was Jewish, she was German. In 1933, she was made stateless. She had to flee after an arrest by the Gestapo. She ended up in Paris, and then the French interned all Germans in France, regardless of whether they were refugees, whether they were supporters of Hitler, and interned them together as enemy aliens. So Hannah has been taken from Paris to the south, and she's gone south with a woman named Gertie. And yes. Now the trucks brought the women from the train into a town called Gurs. They rolled past double barbed wire fences and into a military prison. The women were unloaded. Soldiers shouted at them, un, deux, and the women became a frightened herd, stumbling between rows of barracks. Gertrude, who had suffered polio as a child, could not run, so Hannah carried what little they had. They were ordered to push forward past signs that read A, B, C, not knowing if they were running towards something or running away. At last, at the letter M, guards prodded them into an opening in the barbed wire. Find a mattress, because if you don't, they laughed, you'll have to sleep with us. She and Gertie entered the barracks in a daze. They sat across from one another on two pallet beds. Gertie began to cry with a numb stillness. It's nothing, she repeated. Nothing, just that my leg aches. It hasn't hurt this much since I was little. The guards called this area Section M and Islet and Îlot. On the first afternoon, Hannah counted 60 pallets in each barrack, 25 barracks in Îlot M, at least 20 Îlots fenced off from one another by razor wire. There were inmates here already. Hundreds of Spaniards had stood at the fences near B and C in silent greeting. A teenaged girl, malnourished, sent to assist the elderly arrivals, told Gertie that she and her mother did not expect to remain here much longer. Last year, the girl said, we were packed tight, like crickets in a jar. Everyone was here, brigadists, communists, Basque, but anyone who could get out is gone. Mama and I have no money to buy our release and nowhere to go. She had heard that they would be transferred to prisons in Spain. The Pyrenees rose in the south, unreal, as if pinned magisterially to the sky. The barrack smelled of something rotting, but despite her earlier weeping, Gertie still clung to good cheer. All will be well, she said to Hannah, meticulously braiding her hair for the night. Soon rain hammered down on the wooden roof, which was covered by tar paper. All through the next day, people quarreled. Some were determined to win what small comforts they could, except Gertrude, of course. Gertie was fierce as a puddle. The wall near to Hannah was crowded with writing. In French, someone had written, "We were stupid. We trusted in international solidarity until it was too late." In Spanish, another wrote, "What will happen to us?" Another answered, "Foolish question. Ask yourself instead, what can we do?" Hannah's contribution was to write the date and mark the time, and thereby leave a clue to herself. May 25th, 1940, evening. More transports arrived from other parts of France. A guard complained there were 6,000 of them, 6,000 women, like a leper colony, he raged. Claudia in the next bed said that the camp commandant, on being told to expect 14,000, had fainted dead away. The women in Îlot H, just across the muddy path, were agitating for a mass suicide in order to vex the French. They were almost persuasive until they weren't, only tragic. Following her husband's advice, she had packed excellent books, but each time she opened one, the pages seemed blank, as if words had begun to erase themselves. She couldn't concentrate and was gutted by shame. She had been naive. She had convinced herself that the French would come to their senses. Women would not be interned, certainly not children, and all would stand their ground against Hitler's cruelties. Now, undone by her own errors, repentant, she listened carefully to each moment. Gertie talked about all things under the sun. Gertie made jokes when she shouldn't, and not even good ones. 2 men walk over a bridge, she said quite cheerfully. One falls into the water. The other is called Helmut. They bathed and washed their clothes under a thick pipe punched with holes which ran along the barbed wire fence. The water ran only 2 hours in the morning, and all 1,500 women in Îlot M had to push their way in. It took agility and fortune not to slip on the putrid ladder to the latrine. The guards stood like packs of wolves, enjoying the show. From morning to night, the women were ordered into the barracks and out again for no reason. What she needed to numb her panic, letters, newspapers, radios, was forbidden. Food was chickpeas and lukewarm water, and 1 loaf of bread for every 6 women. Dividing the bread was the most volatile part of each morning, and fights regularly broke out. The women went from fence to fence, making secretive visits to those in other Îlots. The name Gers, Gertrude asked one day, where does it come from? Minna in Îlot L said it was the name of a nearby town. It's an old Arabic word, apparently, Gertz, and it means sinkhole. The Spanish girls say that come summer, we'll see why, the whole place drowns in mud. To sleep side by side with so many was otherworldly. It was terrible to wake in the night and hear women dreaming and crying out, trying to flee the terror they had swallowed. Each twilight, she began to take refuge in an unnoticed spot where a breeze hurried between the buildings. Before the edges of all things turned dark, the mountains were outlined in gold. Momentarily, even the barbed wire dissolved. Noises from the road reached them, bicycle bells, singing, and fragments of conversation. Outside the camp, routines continued, while inside, time stretched until it broke. She doggedly asked everyone who might know, "Where's the front? Is it really true the Belgians have surrendered? Any word from the other camps?" But there were no certainties, just speculation. When Gertie shared the books she'd been carrying in her bags, 7 volumes of Proust, Hannah laughed. Between the chess set, Proust, and a stack of writing notebooks, her friend was obviously no pragmatist. Also, she was easily hurt, without inner defenses, too honest, and despite all that, typically German. Gertie instigated idiotic fights over Holderlin and Schiller, knowing that such fights could provoke Hannah and snap her out of her despair. She and Gertie had benefited from the same excellent Weimar education, which gave them a sense of belonging. To what, after all? A set of books? A culture? To bits of philosophy? Or a nation? To an inheritance that couldn't be withdrawn? The German poems they'd loved felt like lamps inside them, or maybe bitter pills whose taste could not be dislodged. Damn this Goethe stuck in both their heads, which Gertie seemed to murmur without realizing. But why confer on us, O fate, the feeling that each can plumb the other's heart? After a particularly hard-fought and humiliating chess match, Gertie soothed herself by reading aloud from her beloved Proust that limitless passage about beholding the universe through the eyes of another, through 100 others. Hannah ignored her. She read instead from her husband's old letters. "I always feel you near me, and yet I miss you wherever I go. I seek you every day, and I find you only in my heart, but at least that is completely sure. And in this way I cherish the hope to find you soon. I have patience, darling. Don't run away." That's it.
I can crouch. Thank you so much, Madeline. What a treat. Thank you so much for coming all the way to St. John's. Before we jump to a discussion between Sharon and Madeline, we have Marlaena Moore here, also from Montreal, an enigmatic performer with an incredible presence and a soaring voice. And I was here for her sound check, and I can absolutely guarantee that that is what you're going to get. Her songs cross personal bedroom confessionals with grunge-influenced guitar in a tight pop song package. You'd be hard-pressed to find another artist with as brilliantly clear a trajectory. From her earliest bedroom recordings through the maximalist sonic explorations of her last album called Pay Attention, Be Amazed, to the laser-focused sound of her newest work, charting a course through her career to date is about as tangible as it gets. Let's welcome Marlaena Moore.
That's perfect, thank you. Hi everyone, and thank you Madeline so much. That was so beautiful. I brought a blazer because there's an author here. It's like published and everything. All right. I'm looking in to see, what it all really means. Maybe nothing at all. I have sunk to the floor of the ocean. I'm gazing up softly as all the debris rushes past me. The vastness of all that exists is so clear to me. I'm your case. I am collected with every wave as the quiet falls over me. Wake me in ecstasy. I'm more awake than I've ever been before. And the sun is a shining red exit sign, and the surface is shimmering striped like a tiger, a tangerine highway on trembling water. I'm your husk. I am a handful of jewels in the sun. Take me out of my misery, back to reality. I'm more alive than I've ever been before. Thank you. That last one is called Tiger Water. It's from my last record from 2020. And I've basically just decided that it's just about Newfoundland now, because it's just about being by the water and it being really nice. And that's the main part of Newfoundland, I have to say. It's such an honor to be back here. My gosh. A crew and I drove here from Montreal. It's pretty raw, man. Not gonna lie. This place is so far away, but that makes it more magical. So this is another older tune. It's about being on tour. I haven't had a thing to eat. I'm blistering beneath the heat. I'm bleeding buckets in my seat, and I miss you. I miss you. It's only been an hour or so, or maybe just a day ago. The weeks are moving way too slow. I miss you. I miss you. You do, yeah. My cigarettes have turned to ash. I've burned right through my petty cash. I feel like hell. I look like trash. I miss you. I miss you. My head is weak, my body's sore. I'm sleeping on a stranger's floor. It doesn't matter anymore. I miss you. I miss you. You do. You do. I miss you most of all. Everything feels small then falls away when I miss you. I miss you, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Wish you, I wish you, I wish you, I wish you were you with me, here with me, here with me. The light has fallen from my star. I'm singing to an empty bar with a broken out of tune guitar. I miss you. I miss you. Ooh, I miss you. I miss you. I miss you. I miss you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I wish you. I wish you. I wish you. I wish you were here with me. Here with me. Here with me. Miss you most of all. Everything feels small when you're so far. Thank you very much. Just a logistical question. Is this water for me or is that Madeline's water? Just want to make, huh? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's, sorry, I think I'll have my own water. That's okay. Well, they got a pretty, look at this. Look at this. They can get me my own water, you know? Don't worry. Yeah, thank you again to Lanya Vanya. It's played last year with Ribbon Skirt and just absolutely fell in love with this place, like I keep saying. Thank you so much. Oh, awesome. Okay, I get a different kind of water. That's cool. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for hosting too. It's so cool to hear your bio read. You're like, me? No. So yesterday was my birthday, and you're welcome. And I just want to say it's so okay that you guys didn't get me anything. I mean it. Don't worry. You can I have special edition T-shirts that I got that you can have. That you can just buy that, or you can just come and give me $20. That's allowed too. It's all good. So just thank you. It's all good, you guys. Don't worry about it. Just gonna walk over here. Well, that's great. That's really good. Okay, so I released a record back in January called Because You Love Everything. And I have the good problem of completely selling out of vinyl. So I don't have that, but I do have T-shirts of me surfing on this guitar into Newfoundland. So hopefully that is okay too. Unfaded, dreamy eyes of you are stuck inside a misled truth and staring at the ceiling, feeling that maybe someday he will come and he will right all of your wrongs. You'll be the light inside his palm, projected on the plain white wall. I wanna say everything that I lost, but my phrase just plays a part of different words. You are not alone anymore. You are not alone anymore. You are not the truest love you've ever known has been inside you all along. And you were safe here on your own. You're not alone, you're not alone. No, 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 no. You are not alone anymore. You are not alone anymore. Thank you so much. If it's possible to get a little more vocal, I would. If it's pushing it, no worries. Hungry, hateful, I'm so grateful for the basic need for endless replacement. Fill me, feed me. I'm so cluster of shivering souls. And I'm hungry for God. I just never get enough, and I try to sweat the feeling, but I feel like giving up. I will go down when the sun comes up around daylight. Savings time won't save me now. Spin me, oh, spin me. I wish to be oh so sickly. I've got the residue on overused credit card blues, and I'm hungry for God. I just never get enough, and I try to sweat the feeling, but I feel like giving up. I break everything I touch, and I hurt everyone I love, and I break everything I touch, and I hurt everyone I love. Yeah, I'm hungry for God. I just never get enough, and I try to sweat the feeling, but I feel like giving up. Yeah, I break everything I touch, and I hurt everyone I love, and I break everything I touch, and I hurt everyone I love. Gonna do a little self karaoke here and pray to God that this thing doesn't randomly turn off. We'll just play it by ear if it does. I've been awake all night. I've thought about it all. Every time I feel the descent, you reach for my hand again. I've been awake all night, tossing, turning, praying that you'll let me be there. The minute that I'm under, I can feel you over me. I live lately, and I tried to make things right. Ooh. I've been awake all night. I can't help myself. Every time I close my eyes, I'm begging for the other side. Yeah. I try to separate and be the one that you created, but you don't seem to mind if I live or die. And don't you understand that I'm the one that needs the friend to just keep on letting me cry? I've been running on empty. I've been so reckless with me, and I lied. I hate your mind. Green, green grass, cartoon clouds and sugar glass. I can hear the echo through the valley of the past crying, don't go, don't go. Don't go, no, 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 no. Don't go. Ooh, don't go. Oh, oh. I just have a couple more here. That song is about being really tired. It goes out to my crew here. This is the ones who drove from Montreal all the way here. We went to Moncton. We went to Sydney. We saw some moose. My God, what an adventure. This is the one where I do drop D, and I feel really cool about that. But someone told me recently, I was on tour with a band, and the bass player was like, you keep saying that like drop D is cool, which is weird. Apparently it's not like cool, it's just normal. But it's nothing I ever do, so that must mean it's cool. Taking empties out to the trail, breaking bottles in the sewage stream. Time to pack it all up and sink to the bottom of a 2-foot creek. Save me from my dreams. They're holding me back. I think I must have made a big mistake. I'm all It's been pounding at the back of my head, begging, oh lady, won't you let me in before you close up shop, and then you're nowhere again. Taking empties out to trail, breaking bottles in a sewage stream. Time to pack it all up and sink to the bottom of a 2-foot creek. Save me from my dreams, they're holding me back. I think I must have made a big mistake. I'm on the wrong track. My throat's been choking on a piece of my mind, begging, oh lady, just leave it behind. If you give it a minute, then you will find it's the wrong place, it's the wrong time. Oh, I've been dragging all the empties out to the muddy black water beside my house. And when I know no one's around, I'm screaming out loud that I'm nowhere now. I'm nowhere now, I'm nowhere now, nowhere now, I'm nowhere now, I'm nowhere now, I'm nowhere now, nowhere now, nowhere now, nowhere now, nowhere now, nowhere now. Thank you so much. I just have one more, if that's all right. And okay, so here's the truth, is that like the kind of general rule, I think, is that when you play a festival at a sold-out show, your last song is not a half-written song you wrote as a joke. But I mean, doesn't that sound a little intriguing, kind of risky, kind of fun? 'Cause like, yeah, I was like finishing it off kind of today, and I was like, are you seriously gonna do this? I was like, you've got a blazer, so you can do anything. Yeah, I don't know what, like I've been tormenting my boyfriend with this song that I'm just like, I can't, it won't leave me. I have to play it somehow. And so this song is about like this really like incredible, like just fabulous rock diva. So it's called Amazing Grace. was something amazing about Grace. Whenever she walks into the room, she never feels she has to change her tune. That's Grace. Saving wretches left and right. Let me tell you, this chick is out of sight. That's Grace, sweet Grace, my Grace. She's amazing, how sweet the sound. I finally found my Grace, yeah, Grace, sweet Grace. She's amazing. And I think I kind of decided what I want to say for the second part. So let's just see how this goes. I swear to God, I once was blind, but oh my God, I see the sweetest woman there ever was or ever will be. Where did your long hair go? Where is the girl I used to know? Oh, I say, hey, Caroline, no, not Grace. She's amazing, how sweet the sound. I finally found my Grace in this wretched place. Oh, Grace, she's amazing. Gloria, Gloria, let me tell you about that baby. She just leaves them hanging on the line. Not Grace, sweet Grace. She's amazing, how sweet the sound. I finally found my Grace in this wretched place. Oh, Grace, she's amazing. Sweet Grace, sweet Grace. I once was lost, oh, but now I've been found by the best woman around or ever will be, and that's Grace. Thank you so much. Peace out.
Marlaena Moore. Okay, so we're going to set up some stools here so we can have a little conversation between Madeline Chen, who we're going to have come back up, and Sharon Bala. Sharon Bala, you might know. Her best-selling debut novel, The Boat People, won the 2020 Newfoundland and Labrador Book Award and the 2019 Harper Lee Prize for Legal Fiction. Was shortlisted for several awards and is in translation in 4 languages. She won the Writers' Trust McClellan and Stewart Journey Prize in 2017. Her short fiction's been published in Best Canadian Stories, the Journey Prize, Riddle Fence, Hazlitt, Grain, Prism International, the New Quarterly, Maisonneuve, and elsewhere. Sharon is a member of the Port Authority Writing Group, and her new novel, Good Guys, is out real soon, early next year. So let's welcome Madeline and Sharon to the stage.
There are lots of seats. If people are standing, don't stand. You don't have to stand. When Marlaena was playing that last song, Maddie, I was thinking about how what a risk that is to kind of break the quote unquote rules, to get up there and perform something that you're still working on. The sound is good, right? Okay. And it made me think of the Book of Records, which seems to break all the rules. It's a historical fiction, it's a speculative fiction, there is real math in here, there's physics, there's philosophy, it's got so much, and it's so incredibly ambitious. And I feel like you swung for the fences and really did it. But I was wondering if we could start by just talking about time and space-time in the book. And specifically, you read, I think you all heard it. Thanks, Des. You read about how Lena and her father arrive at the sea with a capital S, this kind of way station, refugee zone, and it's sort of shifting, and buildings are winding around each other, and people are looking out at the water, and they see different waters. And then her father says, "This is a building made of time." How is that possible? How can time be something like a form?
Yes. First, I'm so happy that I get to talk to you. So thank you for doing this. And I just also wanted to say that I had a blazer.
I also thought about wearing a blazer.
It's actually hanging up in the hotel, but I had worn it for like 8 straight events. And I thought maybe I should let go of the armor of the blazer. Now I kind of wish I had it.
No, I wish I brought my blazer too.
A building made of time, yes. When I first started writing the book, that's pretty much the only thing I knew. I knew there was a father and a daughter, that 14 would be a crucial age for the daughter, and that there was a building made of time. It was an idea I'd had 20 years ago. In the months after my mom passed away, I had this longing for someplace that would be the holding space, where all times could wash in and encircle one another. But I didn't know how one would do that in a novel, which is a linear experience. It's really one sentence after the other. I think what's challenging about the novel is the way the reader kind of has to move. But I wanted not to write a novel that was time travel, but to try to see if I could find a space where the centuries could wash in like the tides. And I was thinking about physics, Einstein, that time and space are one fabric. And I wanted to know what that would feel like for us with our perceptive worlds.
And so for me, reading the book, what it felt like was, so Lena and her father arrive. She's 7, and then she ages about, I think, 10 years or so, in 7 years. And she has this line, I forget what it is, but she says, I aged in an instant and I aged in years. And I had this real sense that time was not moving in a linear fashion in the sea. And I also felt like the other people they were in contact with, most of the people come to the sea, they're there for a day or two, and then they immediately leave. They get on these container ships and go out to what they hope is the next safe harbor, a more permanent safe harbor. There's a sense by most people that they can't really stay, but Lena and her father are the exception. And while they're there, and I felt like most of those people coming in and out, it didn't seem to me like it was totally clear what year they were. They might be travelers from the past or the future, but Lena and her father stay, and they meet these 3 neighbors who do stay as well. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about who they are.
Yes, it's true. I think those who arrive may be coming from different eras. Her father tells her that after this place, histories break apart. It's like a knot in the fabric. And they stay because he's hoping, or he tells his daughter that he's hoping that the mother and the brother and the aunt will catch up with them. And the neighbors also tell Lena that they're also waiting for someone to arrive. The neighbors, it's a little bit like Narnia. Like when you go through the back of the wardrobe door. I think a lot of the book is part of what I think I was working out was the way that we inherit ideas and histories and philosophies. How they come into our lives as copies of copies of copies. How we recognize something in them and take them to heart, or that they put down roots in us in ways that give us a way to exist in our present, even if the cost might be that we might understand them, might misunderstand them, might remember incorrectly, might attribute things to the histories that are things we need from the histories. So the neighbors are sort of vessels for the way history has traveled down to Lena, but they're also creations.
There are 3 neighbors. There's Bento, Jupiter, and Blucher, and each of them becomes a kind of educator for Lena, and each of them tells her a different story. Jupiter tells her about Du Fu, the Tang poet from China, 7th century, I want to say?
8th century.
8th century. Blucher tells her about Hannah Arendt. You read a bit of that. And then Bento tells her about Baruch Spinoza. And so I had this feeling...
It's very weird.
but also wonderful. I had this feeling of a nesting doll. There's the author who's telling us the story, and inside of that there's Lena, the first-person narrator, telling us the story, and inside of that there are these 3 neighbors telling their stories, and eventually her father also tells his story. And when the neighbors tell the story, you start to wonder, are these neighbors Du Fu, Spinoza, and Hannah Arendt? Are they their ghosts that can't move on? Are they stuck here? Are they echoes in some way? Or are they figments of Lena's imagination because she is a child with these 3 books and no one else?
They are kind of, I think the only thing we really know for sure is that they're very real to Lena. They're as real to her as any encounter, any human being, and in the sense that what one loves becomes real
Right.
because of the attention that one pays to them, because of that deep desire to breathe something else into life. I think of them maybe as a kind of lineage. And I was thinking about the ways that there's so many ideas circling through the world, and I was thinking about the books and the ideas we encounter when we're young that somehow like imprint on us, and then we may even forget about that encounter, but they have actually stirred something up in us and maybe set us on a particular course, and maybe even given us a frame for how we see things. I kind of think of the neighbors as that kind of thing, as ideas handed down decade by decade or generation after generation that are enacted over and over again in different lives.
And there is a lot of echoes within the book. You know, we're reading about the life of Dufu, and something he says comes back again in the sea, and maybe something that Lena's father says. Or there's like moments where Hannah Arendt's former lover, professor, is quoted in like I think Spinoza's section, or Spinoza is quoted by Hannah Arendt's section. There are these kind of echoes coming back and coming back. And there's this wonderful quote from Lena. I'm going to read it, and maybe you can. So at one point, Lena says to herself, and this is a shorter version, a big melon and a tiny seed flung into a canyon would fall at exactly the same speed as if they were holding hands. Maybe an event and its telling met in a similar way, touching on the long descent. And this made me wonder about kind of what you were saying earlier about things that happen in history and how they are remembered, how they are repeated, how they're told. What do you think is the relationship between an event and its telling? Is it fraternal twins? Is it first cousins? Is it long lost relatives?
It's probably a kind of regeneration. In that passage, she's really thinking about terminal velocity.
Yeah.
How a big thing and a small thing flung out the window will eventually both hit terminal velocity and fall as if holding hands. I think there's two parts. So I'm sorry, my brain has gone in two different ways. But
Go. Yeah.
But the one part is that in this telling, there's a reason for the telling, and I think part of that is that the question of what happened to the other half of Lena's family, and her father's responsibility for those events, and what her father wants to give her is something to take into the future, because he has a sense that he may not be able to accompany her into the future. He wants to tell her the truth, but he doesn't want to tell her the truth at all. And he wants to give her... He knows that the pattern of his life is not going to provide her with a moral or ethical education. And I think the conversations between them are to think about what it means to choose.
Huh.
To choose ethically when the world is collapsing, if such a choice is even still possible. That was kind of one part of what I was thinking. And then there was a second part when you asked the question, but I might have lost it.
That's all right. Let's talk
Yeah.
about choice when
Yeah.
the world is collapsing.
Yeah.
These characters, Arendt, Dufu, Spinoza, also Lena and her father, when we see what has happened to get them to this place, they are living in times of catastrophe. There's environmental degradation, there's plague, there's totalitarianism. And in some moments, it felt like you were making a case for the value of community and friendship. But then there's a haunting moment where Hannah Arendt thinks to herself something like, I'm going to botch this, but something like, it's not the enemies I worry about, it's what our friends are doing. When our friends are choosing things we would not want them to choose.
She felt betrayed by her friends in
Yes.
1930s Germany. She felt betrayed by the intellectual class. She was a lover of Heidegger's.
Yeah.
Um,
And he collaborated with the Nazis.
yes. She felt, I think, especially in the Hannah Arendt sections, there is this, she clearly loses faith in the world in which she came of age. She also holds fast to the intellectual inheritance that she has as something that belongs to her. She also holds fast to her relationship with Heidegger, even when he is guilty of the most devastating betrayals. Partly because she chooses to be loyal to the fact that she loved. And this question of love, what one chooses to love and what one chooses to forgive, comes up again and again in her writing. And I think one thing I was really interested in was the world that were the seeds of the ideas that we will later know these thinkers for. Hannah Arendt, one of her most famous works, The Origins of Totalitarianism, which she wrote, which was published in 1949, I think 1950, but long after, not a decade after these events. Same with Spinoza, Dufu. Dufu comes of age in the most prosperous moment of the Tang Dynasty in China, the most sophisticated, cosmopolitan, educated, glorious time of the empire, with real territorial expansion that is actually on a precipice and falls into the abyss of civil war. So he sees both the height and a war that's going to displace or disappear a third of the population. I think they have to decide finally what they'll be loyal to in terms of people and in terms of beliefs.
It's interesting to me that Du Fu seems to be very loyal to the state.
Yes.
Very
wants to serve
loyal.
the
He
state.
wants a job.
Yes. I mean, the whole in the Dufu sections, I really concentrate on the earlier part of his life, and really, he's just really looking for a job. I mean, it's an incredible situation of this very talented man, extraordinary poet, who will become, long after his death, 1,400 years later, considered the greatest Chinese poet who ever lived, but not in his lifetime.
I mean, as a writer, that part was hard. He goes to a bookstore and he looks through an anthology to see if he's in there, and he's not.
No, and it's so cruel because the bookshop owner's like, but there's 2 more volumes. And
And he's not in those either.
No, and this is true, that anthology, very famous anthology that came out in his lifetime, did not include him. Yeah.
And every day he's getting on his horse, Big Red, this poor horse that's been all over the place, and he's going to the emperor to write a poem about someone's beautiful screen in order to get a job. He's just really sucking up.
It's that time of the need for patrons.
Yes.
But he also believes that the duty of an educated person, someone who's had the privilege of the education that he had, their function in life is to serve the state. Their role is to bring all that learning to bear on the present.
Yes.
And so he feels without a purpose because he's unable to serve his role. It's all going to change, of course, when he sees what the empire becomes. But I think all along he feels this responsibility. Yeah.
It's interesting because for him, he's trying so hard to serve the state. He feels that's the morally right thing to do. That's the ethical thing to do. In other moments, there's a character who serves the state at the expense of their own family and loved ones. And there's this devastating line where the character thinks to themselves, well, what can I, something like, I'm butchering this again, but something like, the world is unjust and I'm just one person. What can I do? And it made me almost think, oh, is this what Heidegger is telling himself? Like, always in the book, for me, and I think all of you, if you read it, always when you're in one moment, one space and time, you're thinking about all these other spaces and times. And in that way, time is working like that double coin knot. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
I was a bit mischievous in the sense that even though each of those volumes is about a great life, there's a question about what that actually means to live a great life. And I kind of was feeling more that each of these figures that we know or that history has kept in the record, in writing about them, it became possible to pull the world around them into light. And a lot of the ideas that will become more fully formed in their writings later on, in this novel, they actually come from the mouths of other people. A child apprentice that works with Spinoza, the often nameless, courageous people who save Hannah Arendt and her husband so many times along the way. The people who make these choices in a moment, that means that someone can cross a border that's close to them or someone cannot. It's like the path to safety for each of them is so intricate and complex. And at every step, it requires someone making an ethical choice. And you're right, the layering is that there's a redistribution of these ideas between them, around them, and in conversation. I think that was the most maybe important part to me, that everything is kind of in conversation.
So I know a secret, which is that when you were inviting characters to come to the sea, when you invited Bento and Blucher and Jupiter, who may or may not be Hannah Arendt, Dufu, and Baruch Spinoza, you had also extended an invitation to the Russian philosopher Mikhail Bakhtin, and that he said no thank you and got on a cargo ship and left, but that he left some of his ideas behind. Could you talk a little bit about how his ideas are infused all through the book?
Yes, I had, when I started writing it, I didn't know who would stay in this building made of time. I really wanted to be true to the writers and thinkers that had shaped me, because I also felt like, when I started writing the book, it was 2016, and I felt like maybe there were a lot of things about the world I hadn't perceived, and maybe there were ways in which the books I had loved when I was young both expanded my mind and maybe caused me not to see certain things. So when I wrote this, started writing about the sea, I was kind of opened the rooms to whoever whatever thinkers might want to stay. Was it going to be Dostoevsky or Bach, or would it be Mikhail Bakhtin or Virginia
Could have had
Woolf?
Dostoevsky.
Yes. And just over the many years of writing it, those three were the ones who lingered. They wanted to talk. Bakhtin is famous for these ideas, many ideas around the dialogic imagination and polyphony in novels, multi-voicedness, double-voicedness, and the what he calls the chronotope, which is the time-space fabric of novels. And he has this beautiful work on where he examines how time and space give rise to certain ways of narrating. For instance, he talks about Dostoevsky and what kinds of spaces are common in Dostoevsky's novels. And he talks about how most of the significant events take place on the thresholds of places. So in a doorway, in a hallway, in the little alleyway leading to a square, that he really makes concrete these threshold moments that are going to be decisive moments that turn everything over again for a character in a world. And I could go on about Bakhtin, but he talks about biographical time in Tolstoy, about adventure novels that need great spaces. It doesn't really matter where or what specific places, but you need a vast land and vast ocean and so on. He does a wonderful schema, I guess,
Yeah.
of space in novels.
It's interesting what you said about thresholds in Dostoevsky, because the sea is a threshold. It's a completely liminal space. And it put me in mind, the story kind of put me in mind of, I think it's part of this, I think your book is part of this kind of lineage of books about characters who are in catastrophe and traveling and thrown together, strangers thrown together, who tell each other stories, like the Decameron or the Canterbury Tales. And then I started thinking about your epigraph, which I'm going to read if that's all right. And then maybe we can talk about it. I require a thou to become, becoming I say thou. All actual life is encounter. Are you saying that we only exist in relation to others? That if Lena had shown up, for example, at the sea and no one was there, she would cease to exist.
I know the Hannah Arendt answer, which would be that she would exist because she would be in dialogue with herself. That each person is what she calls a two in one. And you can be in solitude but not alone. And she often writes about what the world is, and that the world isn't something that I carry inside myself and you carry inside yourself. The world is these things that sit between us, and that each time we make a gesture into that world, we are creating the actuality of the world. And it's that structure which she will tap into to build a philosophy and an ethics, in that asking that question of what it means to love the world. A world that often, as she says, has very little to recommend it, sometimes, in the worst of times.
She's loyal to love.
She's loyal to She's loyal to holding sacred what is private, and from that private space making decisions about what it means to then appear in the world, be in the world, partake in it, make something come to life in that space. You're right. A lot of her questions are very much about love and friendship. You kind of touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
I think one of the beautiful things for me about spending 9 years with these three philosophers and thinkers was just sitting with their ideas for so long. And that the ideas in the book never feel like mine. They feel like things that emerged in the space between them. And Lena, in their willingness to talk to a 14-year-old girl and treat her like an equal, as someone who had a right to these ideas as much as anyone, because she asks questions about existence. Yes, I was going somewhere, but then Yes. The thing that arose over writing it was thinking about when they had lost so much. All of them kind of lose worlds in different ways, that they come to see...
They all lose everything, really. I mean, not everything, but...
Not the things that matter most. Also because they're thinking about what it means to survive, not just physically, but your conscience, your soul. And Hannah wouldn't say soul, but the thing that is most precious to you. whatever that self is that you and only you can carry for a brief time through this world. And they all of them in many ways see friendship as the home, that they will be loyal to the act of friendship, to the trust. And I think for Hannah it becomes quite devastating because she very much understands that if she's going to be saved, she's put on a list, a very famous list by Varian Fry, which grants her this American emergency visa. She's one of very, very few people who get out through this route. She's one of 60 women who walk out of that camp in Gurst,
Yeah.
6,000 stay. She understands she's going to be an exception who will be saved, and this breaks her heart because as much as she wants to live, she understands that each surviving as the exception is to abandon the collective.
Yeah, at the beginning of her section, she's surrounded by, it's peacetime, and she's surrounded by so many loved ones and friends. And I'm getting this sigh. Yeah, she's surrounded by so many loved ones and friends, and then at the end, she's carrying their letters, she's carrying their words across the Atlantic. And to me, that was so much of the book is like this carrying on, this pattern that we carry on.
Yes, her husband at one point is carrying a poem by Bertolt Brecht, who was his friend, a poem about the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. They were carrying that across France. Hannah Arendt carries in her belongings the very last essay of the thinker Walter Benjamin.
Yeah.
And at different points, she tells herself she has a duty to survive because she's carrying
Because she's
this
carrying this.
manuscript.
Yeah.
Her own manuscript is lost. She had a manuscript that she dropped in the bathtub. but
That's a great scene.
She feels a duty to carrying Walter Benjamin's essay on history.
I just want to read this little bit from toward the end. When two people meet in conversation, the man says, each surrenders their weapons to the other. Maddie, thank you for surrendering your weapons and meeting me in this wonderful conversation. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so